As an entrepreneur, have you guys ever had these days where you're kind of questioning why you're doing what you're doing? Yeah. Where you're asking yourself if it's all worth it? And you're so caught up in the day-to-day grind of the doing, you kind of forget your why. And I want to start off just by reminding you guys why your work matters. I think it's so easy, whether you sell product, we sell advice, whatever it is you sell, you have to remember it's not just solving a problem. It's impacting lives. It's changing lives. And one of the things I struggled with as a health insurance advisor, when I say the word insurance advisor, what do you guys instantly think of? Come on. Sleazeball, cheeseball, used car salesman, right? My job as a health insurance advisor, as I saw it, was my job to deliver bad news every 12 months.
Your premium's going up.
Your premium's going up. And it was, in that industry, it was so easy to actually have my ability to complete the mundane day-to-day activities be more appreciated than the advice I was given. But then when I moved out here, and Samson shared briefly the story, I'm going to share more parts of that, I realized that, wait a second, as a health insurance advisor, my advice actually can keep a business's doors open. My advice can help somebody avoid bankruptcy. And my advice can be the difference between somebody getting the health care they need or waiting until it's too late. Like, this matters. And I want to share the same thing with you guys because it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind, you forget why you're doing what you're doing. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something today. I need you to get more attention with your product and your advice you're given. The biggest gap right now between where you are and your business reaching its full potential right now is not enough people are hearing your message. Not enough people know you exist. And the difference between where you want to be and where you are and where you want to be is attention. That's what we're here to talk about today, is attention. So we're going to kick this off with a fun little exercise. I want you guys to close your eyes for a second. And we're small enough we can collaborate here. I want you to go back to your childhood. When you were a kid, what did you want to be? Get that image in your head. What did you want to be when you grow up? Anybody willing to share what it was? MacGyver. I like that.
He actually did it, though.
What else?
NBA point guard.
NBA point guard. Nice.
Pro skater.
Pro skater. Interesting. Oh, like a skateboarder.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you meant a figure skater for a second. You would have been like the most bulked out figure skater in the history of the sport. How many of you, though, when you had that image in your head, had the image of what you're doing today? I bet you it's almost no one. Now, Darius, do we have slides? Is it possible to pull the slides up? There we go. Perfect. When I was a kid, my childhood dream was not to sell health insurance. My childhood dream was to play professional baseball. I grew up in south central Wisconsin, 30 miles outside of Milwaukee. And my dream was to play for my hometown team, the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, as a kid, I had one small problem. Does this physique scream professional athlete? As a kid, I hated attention. As you can see why, because it was often negative, because I was a chunky kid. Kids picked on me. Girls were definitely not attracted to me. And before my mental health became a mainstream issue, companies like Levi's Jeans made it very clear they had made a size just for me, husky. Where are my husky wearing men here? Oh yeah, I feel your pain. Now, can you see those glasses? By the way, those could start ants on fire. I was the only basketball player who made the A team wearing B cups. Whenever the attention was on me, it was always negative, and so I avoided it at all costs. In fact, in grade school, my bully was not the big kid on the playground. It was the annual presidential fitness test. Who remembers the presidential fitness test? I can remember walking down to the gym in Park Lawn Elementary, and you walk in, got the pull-up bar, got the sit and reach box, you got the jump rope, the ropes hanging down from the gym, and sweat would just come down my face because I knew what was about to happen. I could barely do any pull-ups. I couldn't do any push-ups for the most part. My sit and reach could be measured in centimeters, not inches. I really didn't know how to jump rope, and there was no way in hell I was climbing that rope. And the attention was always on me, but it was because kids were laughing at me. And I wanted to be anybody but me. So when I think about my childhood, the reason I share this story is I wasn't consistent or confident as a kid. I wasn't consistent, number one, because I had a ton of fear. I feared judgment, I feared comparison, and I feared failure. I had no confidence, as you could see why. And so my entire childhood was summed up pretty easily. All I wanted to do was fit in. And when all you want to do is fit in, it's easy to look past you. As a child, I was an unknown. I was full of potential, but nowhere near reaching it. How many of you feel that way about your business right now? There's so much potential here. That's what I want to talk to you guys about today right now is potential. How do we get your business to the point it's reaching its full potential? Some of you might already be there, but how do we take it to the next level? Now, when I look at what's going on in the entrepreneurial world today, I see two big challenges. Because the way we do business changed forever in March of 2020. And it's never going back. The way we build relationships has changed forever. I know in the insurance industry prior to 2020, here's how we built a relationship with a prospect. We schmoozed them. We bought them lunch. We took them out for golf. We took them to a ball game. It wasn't my knowledge or my credibility. It was my ability to pay enough for enough stuff for them to finally say yes. That all changed. You know what's so funny about the pandemic? When we all went in lockdown, how many of you were like, oh, I can't wait to get back to live events. Like, we need live events. And then live events come back, and what do? Yeah, I don't really want to leave the house. I'm in my sweatpants. I'm in my T-shirt. I'm good. Right? It's hard to build relationships today. What I'm going to teach you is actually how to build a relationship with a prospect before they ever meet you. How to get them to feel like they already know you before you ever talk to them. One of the biggest compliments we get with our prospects is when we jump on the phone with them, they go, I already feel like I know you. And I smile because that means our marketing is working. Now, there are two challenges right now, I think, keeping most entrepreneurs from reaching their full potential. Number one, we are not consistent. Why are we not consistent? Because we don't have patience. We want the short-term hack. We want to take what you've done in 9 years, and I want to do it in 9 weeks. And as a result, we're chasing the quick win. We're chasing the perfect marketing script, the perfect sales pitch, the perfect sales script. If this product isn't working today, tomorrow I'm off selling this product. We have no patience. The second challenge is we're not confident. Now, you might be confident as an individual, but running your business, you're not confident. Why? It comes back to those fears. If I'm telling you you need to grab more attention by putting yourself out there, what comes up? Oh boy, there's going to be judgment. I'm going to start comparing myself. Try something that might fail? Oh, hell no. But that's what we have to overcome right now is that lack of consistency and lack of confidence. Because the post-COVID era has presented a lot of challenges in how we grow our business. And two for me that I see going a lot, especially in the insurance industry, is number one, we don't know who our ideal buyer is. We think we're good for everybody, right? As an entrepreneur, you build a product. It's your baby. You're like, it's going to change the world. So everybody should want it. Therefore, we're trying to speak to everybody, but in reality, we're speaking to no one. You're being drowned out right now in a sea of noise, and your buyers can't buy what they can't see. The second problem is we continue to punch our prospects in the face with direct marketing. I know in the insurance industry, the strategy for the last 25 years has been buy a big list of leads and then just hammer the living heck out of them with phone calls and emails telling us why we're so awesome over and over and over again. This stuff doesn't work anymore. Yes, you need direct marketing, but the game has changed. We have got to find a way to build a better relationship with our prospects. Now, what are the ramifications? Because of this lack of patience, because of this desire to just sell, I see too many entrepreneurs get burned out before they reach their full potential. I see a good business go to die before it actually has a chance to win. Or I see an entrepreneur put this product aside to try something else. I have a lot of peers in the industry that have become in the entrepreneurial space, and I have to admit, there's nothing that turns me off more than when last week this guy was selling me mindset advice, and this week he's a relationship coach. It's because we have a lack of patience. We're just putting revenue over reputation. We're putting profit over purpose. And it's easy because how many of you had that childhood dream of becoming what you are today? We didn't. So we've got to fix this. Now, I struggled with this for the first 10 years of my career. As an insurance advisor, I had no patience. I was not consistent. I was not confident. I feared judgment. I feared failure. I feared comparison. I just wanted to fit in. I was all potential, but nowhere close to reaching it. Instead of reaching my full potential, gang, all I did was reach the end of my salary guarantee with every insurance agency I ever worked with. But then something happened in my career, and this is what I'm going to share with you guys today. The 3 tools that changed my career forever. The 3 tools I'm going to share with you guys today took me from feeling like an unknown to feeling unstoppable, really. They took me from frustration to financial success. They took me from lack of consistency, lack of confidence, to being absolutely consistent, actually being at our pillar of our business. It took me from backstage to front stage. It took me from being god-awful at reaching out to prospects to actually having prospects reach out to us. And this changed my career so much, as Samson mentioned, I actually stopped selling insurance, and I built the Complete Game Marketing Playbook to help others do the same thing, other insurance professionals do the same thing I did. And what we built was the Complete Game Marketing Playbook. And it's built on 4 pillars: clarity, content, capture, and convert. Who are you? What's your brand? Who's your ideal prospect? How are you using content to grab their attention? How are you generating qualified leads and then turning those leads into sales? What you're going to learn today, by the way, there might be some of you that are going to look at me today and go, duh, I already know this. But what we teach is very practical. We are not this data scientific driven marketing company. No, we look at stuff very practically, but it's very tactical. Today is what you're going to learn. If you have a camera, notes, paper, it's very how-to today. So I hope you enjoy this. We have enough time to really dig into clarity and capture. But what I want to tell you today, guys, is when I built this for myself, it gave me the confidence and the consistency I needed to win. And what most businesses are missing right now is that consistency and that confidence. Because the name of the game today is attention. Your business needs more attention, but you need to get it consistently. And so what we're going to answer today are the 3 most important questions to move your business from feeling like an unknown to feeling unstoppable. And they are these questions. Who are you talking to? What are you saying to them? And where are you saying it? I told you we are very practical. Who are you talking to? What are you saying to them? And where are you saying it? So let's start with the who are you talking to. I'm going to share my story. Samson went into it a little bit. 2014, Amy and I decided we're going to move from Wisconsin to Colorado. Any non-natives here? I'm sure most hands are going to come up in the room, right? If you guys remember, we moved Memorial Day weekend of 2014. Anybody remember what happened about February 2014 in the state of Colorado? First state to legalize marijuana. Our move was met with a lot of skepticism. Oh, you guys are moving in 2014. Interesting. Convenient, yes. So here was my predicament, though. I decided to go to work. I've been in the industry for 13 years, insurance industry. I go to work for an agency that really doesn't use marketing. It was built by one producer who had built the business for 25 years. He'd hired a bunch of account managers. Hopefully they sold something each and every year, but he was the only producer. Here I come. I'm producer number 2, basically. And I'm in a market where nobody knows who I am. And I went, oh, shit. I still remember Amy and I used to work together at Vogue Bell. I remember sitting at the conference room about 3 weeks into being here, and we're having our sales meeting. I look around and say, guys, what's our marketing plan? And every one of them looked at me, and I just remember looking down like, what did I just do? And so I had a decision to make. I said, okay, I could do it the way I was taught, which was to pick up the phone and go door to door. I was taught how to go door to door, which is going to take a long time in a place no one knows me, or I can try something different. And at the time, truth be told, I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm going to try something different. And that's when I started building my brand. Now, the brand started with 2 very important questions, and I want you guys to consider these questions. I don't think I put them up there. No. Two important questions I want you guys to write down. When I sat down, I said, how in the world am I going to create brand name recognition? I said, number 1, what makes me unique? How can I brand myself so I look different? And it was in that moment I realized if there's one thing in business no one can ever replicate, it's your story. Look at your business. Is there somebody else in the market that sells what you sell? You may sell it differently, right? But they sell from a product standpoint. Somebody else sells it. I said, nobody sells your story. So I said, I'm going to build a unique story. What was my story? I said, I'm willing to bet there are no former professional baseball players selling health insurance in Colorado. That's going to be my brand. Now, ironically, guys, 3 years later, a former Rocky started selling health insurance. I'm like, seriously? You have completely damaged my brand. But no. So that was what I leaned to. I said, I got to have something unique about me. So I want you guys to think about your story. There's something about your story that makes you unique. You don't have to be a former professional athlete. It's something about your story you can sell in your marketing that makes you stand out. Maybe it's something about your business's story. The second question I asked is I said, what do I think I do as well as anyone in this market? What is that gift I think I have that nobody else in my market has to the level I have? At the time, I said, it's my ability to sell a program called self-funding, which probably means nothing to a lot of you in this room. But I said, I'm going to lean into that. That's going to be the thing I become known for. Now, here's where my first challenge presented itself. When I said that's the thing I'm going to become known for, I went and told everybody about it. I went out and puked my knowledge over everybody. I puked my product over everybody. You know how many people turned into clients? All I ever did was talk to a bunch of unqualified people because I thought it was my knowledge and my thing I wanted to become known for that mattered, and it didn't because I didn't know who my ideal prospect was. And that's the first thing. And when it comes to building a marketing strategy that brings in the right qualified prospects is we got to know who we're talking to. So what we're going to walk through is what we call the 5-star prospect profile. There are 5 questions to clearly identify who your ideal prospect is. There are 5 questions you have to answer without a doubt. First one, I want you to look at your current business, your current book of business, or your current buyers. Who is your favorite buyer today? Who is the one person you worked with? If you're selling a product, who is that one person or that one business, if you're in the B2B space, that you work with, you're like, if I could replicate this company, this person, man, business would be great. How many of you have those clients you're like, man, I don't want any more of these? We're all guilty of that, right? I can remember bringing in business for the sake of revenue. I feel good. My paycheck feels good. My team goes, really? This one sucks. But think about your favorite client. And what I want you to do is write the name down. If it's a business, write the name of the business. Maybe it's somebody who works at the business. If it's a B2C, write down a consumer you've worked with. That if you could replicate this person over and over, that your business would be thriving. Now, we got to answer the question, why? Why are they your favorite? And there's 2 ways we answer the question, why. Number 1, demographics. There's two ways we identify an ideal prospect. The first one is demographics. When you think about the buyer's journey and the ideal buyer, demographics is what most of us were taught, right? Location, size, revenue, age maybe, sex, right? Those are the demographic features. How many of you could easily identify your prospect today, your best buyer, demographically? If I said, are they a man or a woman? Are they 45 or 55? Are they in Fort Collins or are they somewhere else? Could we identify the ideal buyer pretty quickly? Here's the problem. Demographics alone cannot identify your ideal prospect. And there's an easy way to prove that. I have never worked with an insurance advisor that said, Andy, my favorite client is a machine shop. It's ABC Manufacturing. I love them because they have 50 employees and they're a machine shop. The owner's a jerk. He treats me like crap. I hate the way he makes decisions, but they're a machine shop, so I love working with them. Said nobody ever. That's why demographics alone. Now, it's important to identify what the demographics are so you can speak to them, but you can't unlock your ideal prospects with demographics alone. Even the right demographic fit doesn't mean they're the right buyer. The unlock to your ideal buyer is in the psychographics. What do they think? What do they stand for? What do they believe? How many of you, and you don't need to answer out loud, but I want you to think about this. How many of you are placing your opinions or your beliefs into your marketing right now? How many of you said, yeah, we could do a little more of that? The reason psychographics are so important is if you look at your ideal buyer, I guarantee your psychographics are aligned. The reason you love working with them is because they often believe what you believe. Now, I'm not talking about religion and politics, but how they do business, what they believe about the product you sell, the service you provide. They believe what you believe. So talk about what you believe more, because you're going to pull out the right psychographic fit. Think of it this way. When you identify the demographics of your ideal prospect, that's like being the person at police at a case where you got all the suspects lined up against the wall. All the suspects against the wall are the demographics. They fit the model demographically. Your psychographics, the marketing that shows the psychographics, is what makes the right people take a step forward. So I'm going to urge you today to sit down when we're done and think about our ideal buyer demographically and psychographically. And let's really hone in on the psychographics, because that's where you're going to find the right buyer. And it's all about what you believe. What do you believe about what you sell? What do you stand for? This is the year to stand for something in your marketing. Too many people are vanilla. Therefore, no one's seeing them. Be a little bold. Let people know. By the way, when you do this, you're going to turn people off. They're never going to buy from you anyways. You're saving yourself time. Now, third question. What problem do you solve? So who's our favorite client? Why? And what problem do we love solving? Think about your product or service. What is the problem you solve? Now, there could be multiple problems, but I guarantee there's one problem you love solving. When you run into that kind of problem, you light up. Figure it out. Get clear on the problem you solve. Now, I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but the key in marketing, and I am not a marketing guru, by the way, but the key in marketing has worked for us. When you use marketing, never talk about more than one problem in one piece of content. In content, if you're creating content, whether it's email content, social media content, webinar content, podcast content, one goal, one problem per piece. Do not talk about multiple problems. But what is the one problem you solve better than anybody else? Because right now, I'm going to ask you to become known for this right here. When people think about that one problem, they instantly think of you. When I work with insurance agencies and we talk about what makes you unique and what do you do as well as anyone else, I have a lot of agencies say, it's our customer service. And I say, that's great. You might have the best customer service in the entire industry. Do you know what the problem with that is? Your competition saying the same thing. And if you have a competitor out there that your buyer thinks can do the same thing as you or already works with somebody doing the same thing as you, they're not buying from you. You have to be different. The days of winning because we're better at something are over. You win because you're different. Fourth question, what's your process for solving it? There is some process you leverage when you uncover a problem for a buyer that you can rinse and repeat every single time. Anybody here in the service business? More advice business versus product, selling a specific product or B2B service? It's easy to feel like we're recreating the wheel with every opportunity. Anybody ever find themselves in that position? You got a good opportunity, but you feel like every new opportunity is a new process. You got to figure out what your process is to help people solve the problem you love solving that you can rinse and repeat it over and over again. Our process, complete game marketing playbook. Once you come up with a process you can rinse and repeat and give it a name, guess what? Your product is no longer some tangible thing. It's actually your process. Your product becomes your process. So even though you might sell a widget, your process of selling that widget or fixing that problem looks very different than your competition. Everybody follow that? And then the final question is, what result does that process create? Now, again, I know there's folks in the room who've probably already been down this path. They've already answered these questions, but you see how practical this is. It's, who is our ideal client today? Who is our favorite client? Why are they our favorite? What problem do we solve for them? What's the process we use to solve it? And what is the result our process creates for the client? At this point, it's now a job, a game to go out and find others who need the same help. But what this does is it builds the structure for your marketing message. Your job is to just tell their story. This is where we all get caught. Again, I come from insurance. The biggest challenge in the insurance industry when it comes to marketing is most insurance professionals are talking about themselves and not their prospect. Go look at your website today. Who is it talking about? Is it talking about you? Or is it talking about your prospect? Key to marketing right now is just tell your prospect story. And the takeaway from this first exercise, guys, is this right here. This is what changed everything for us in our marketing. The riches are in the psychographic niches. Get really clear on why they're your ideal client. What do they believe in? What do they think about? What do they stand for? What do you believe in? What do you stand for? And just lean into that in your marketing, and I promise you the right people will start raising their hand. The wrong ones will not, and that is the best thing that could happen to your business. How many of you have felt at times you're wasting time talking to a bunch of unqualified people or trying to get somebody to buy who's just not going to buy? This changes everything. Since we're a small group, any questions before I move on?
Could you elaborate on tell your prospect's story? I
Yep.
get what you're saying.
Yep. We're going to do that right now. Good segue. So, let's talk about clear communication. Clear communication creates a clear connection. So, cool. I know who my ideal prospect is now. What we just answered is, who are you talking to? Now we got to answer the next question. Anybody remember the second question? What are you saying to them? Now, what changed my career, I learned this lesson here. Clear communication creates clear connection. How many of you are willing to admit, you don't need to raise your hand, but how many of you are willing to admit sometimes your marketing is a little too fancy? You try to use these spicy words no one understands. We're all guilty of that, right? Clear communication is about creating a marketing strategy a fifth grader could understand. You got to simplify what you're saying to people. We overthink what we want to say to people in marketing, and what we're actually doing is confusing them. We got to keep it simple. And what changed for me, guys, is about 2017, I read a book called Building a Story Brand. Anybody read that book before? That book, if you haven't read it, go get it. That book changed my career. In fact, we believe in it so much, I went out and got certified as a guide to basically use their stuff. In that book, Don Miller, the author, probably lays out the most simple way to tell a story. By the way, It is the way stories have been written for thousands of years. What I'm about to share with you is going to ruin every movie, every book you ever read from here on out. Because here's how every story has been written. We call it the story selling formula. Every story goes like this. There is a hero. Now, before I even move on, can you see where a lot of people make a mistake in marketing? Who do they plot as the hero? Your prospect's the hero. Think of it this way. Any Star Wars fans? Who's the hero in the original trilogy?
Jar Jar.
If they never make a movie with that guy again, this will be a better place to live. The original, the ones from the late 70s, who is the hero? Luke Skywalker. Who's the guide? Yoda and Obi-Wan, right? Every hero has a goal. But every goal runs into a problem. And because the prospect has a problem, when they recognize they have a problem, that's when they go seeking a guide. Who's the guide? You. Because you have a plan. Remember your process. You have a process that's going to help people avoid failure and have success. If you just create marketing that tells that story, your marketing will be better than 90% of your competitors. Remember the key. Every story just has one hero, one goal, and one problem. Now, here's a little, because we're going to get into the where are you saying it next. When it comes to content, this is what changed our content. When I read a second book called They Ask You Answer. Anybody ever read that one? All right. Go get that book as well if you're interested in growing your business. They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. So Marcus Sheridan owned a small pool building company in Richmond, Virginia. And he wanted to grow his pool building company, so he started creating content. He used video and blog content. Over the next 5 years, he turned his pool building company into the most searched pool builder in the world. How did he do it? He answered simple questions. So when you think about telling stories, especially when we get to the problem, what you have to remember is buyers go through a specific journey before they purchase. Think of like how you purchase something on Amazon. You first have to have a problem, right? We're out of toilet paper. Problem. I go to Amazon and I search for all my options. There's one option I like because of brand or price, and then I buy, right? That's how every one of our buyers go through a journey. First, they have to have a problem. When they realize they have a problem, they go looking for options. Then they settle on one specific option. And when they settle on one specific option, they go, who can give this to us? Where most companies go wrong with marketing is they start at the wrong end of the buyer's journey. They spend all their time on why we're the best option, and your prospects don't even know what their problem is. If you are going to create content that converts, sit down and make a list of the most common questions, objections, hesitations your buyers give you, and that's the content you want to create. Because what you're going to do is you're going to help them unlock the problem, right? And once you help them unlock the problem, that's when they're going to go searching for the solution, and they're going to land on you. One of the coolest stories about that book, They Ask You Answer, is his most read blog he's ever written was titled The Top 5 Pool Builders in Richmond, Virginia. Today, I think it's got over 10 million views. He didn't even list his own company in the top 5. Because he's so much about unbiased information. But where did they have to go to read that article? And now they're on his website. Now they're scrolling for other information. And who are they learning from? Him. Just answer your prospects' questions. If there's one secret I can give to guys on content, how to create content that converts, just answer your prospects' questions. Answer your buyers' questions. That's what they want to know. You don't need to come up with content that nobody else has ever created. Just create content they're looking for. We have a client right now, and I want to share this because I'm proud of it for him. He took this process, and he started writing blogs. And in the insurance space, he wrote a blog called, Is Self-Funded Insurance Good for Employees? Very real question an employer would ask, right? Is self-funded insurance good for an employee? It is the number one trending article on LinkedIn, on Google right now. When you type in that phrase, his article is the first thing that pops up. Think about that. Imagine your stuff popping up when people actually plug stuff into Google. How do you do it? Create content they're looking for. That simple. So this is storytelling, guys. Now it's, you know what you should be saying. Just tell your prospect story. The last question we got to ask is, where are we going to put it? Because now if we have the right message directed at the right prospect, we can actually have more wins with fewer prospects. I know coming from the insurance space, I was always taught, fill that pipeline. Well, what does that mean if 3/4 of the pipeline are unqualified buyers? I walk into the sales meeting feeling good about myself because I had a full pipeline. None of them were ever going to convert. I'd rather have fewer that are going to convert. So what we got to do is figure out where we're going to put it. So let me share one more business story with you. So I'm building my brand in Colorado, 2014. Fast forward to 2016. I realized, public speaking could be a really good way to build a brand. And in my industry, guys, there are some bad speakers. I'm like, if I could become a really good speaker, I'm going to stand out. So I joined the Colorado National Speakers Association Speaker Academy. I hired a coach. I wanted to dive in on speaking. So I said, I'm going to make speaking a big prospecting opportunity for me. Because here's what I realized, guys. In 2014, when I came out here, I'm like, oh, crap. And I started building my brand. I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, here's what I leveraged. I leveraged a concept called exponential awareness. The name of the game in marketing today is, how are you getting one message in front of a lot of people at one time? How many calls did Samson say it takes to reach a prospect today? If I want to reach 10, how many calls do I have to make? 180. If I'm good and I can make a call per minute, which I can't, that's still 3 hours. I said, I got to hit more people faster. So I leveraged this exponential awareness. So 2017, I get an opportunity to speak down in Denver. And I put my name in a hat for a benefits conference. Really didn't even look into the details, what it was all about. But I said, I want to speak. So I put my name in. I get picked. So January 2017, I drive down to Denver. It's on the south end of town. I get ushered into this breakout room. And I'm kind of ticked because as people start coming in, I'm meeting people. And after like 9 or 10 people, they shut the door. I'm like, really? I drove all the way down here in this traffic to speak to 10 people? So I give my talk. It's called How to Build a Better Health Plan for Less Money. And I finish, and as I'm packing my stuff up, this guy comes up to me and says, hey, man, I really love what you had to say there. I've never heard somebody talk about health insurance that way. Our company has been having a conversation just like this. Would you be willing to jump on a call with my team? I said, sure. So he gives me his business card. Now, the name on his card means nothing to you guys. His name is Duncan McAuliffe. But his job title in his company would be very recognizable because he was the director of total rewards at a little-known company called PepsiCo. You see, what I didn't realize was this conference was intended to be small because it was some of the biggest companies in the country. And I just got the attention of a Fortune 50 company. Now, there is a sad ending to the story. I was told I was too small to win their business because they literally contractually cannot work with me. But I realized I opened the door with one of the biggest names in the country because of my storytelling, my message. And that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, wait a second. If you can become a masterful storyteller and you can put that out on the right channels, it's game over. If you just tell your prospect story. And that's when we started leaning into the triple crown of exponential awareness. This is what we call it today. Creating content that converts, building marketing that gets the attention of doors you've never opened for, comes down to these platforms. Are you out on social media today? If you're in the B2B space, LinkedIn is where you need to be. I don't think you need to be anywhere else. We could argue TikTok. We could argue Instagram. We are on all of them, but LinkedIn, hands down, you need to be there. Email. How many of you are using good email newsletters? Not to pitch, to bring value. Public speaking, webinars, podcast. Who here has a podcast? Guys, podcast is just another form of content. It's just audio. Because what you want to remember is when it comes to creating content, there's 3 ways people digest content. Some watch, some read, some listen. And so if you can have marketing that touches all 3 of those spectrums, you're catching the largest swath of your audience. Now, I'm not saying go out and start a podcast tomorrow, but just think about how you can use all these channels to grab as much attention as you possibly can. This is exponential awareness. When I realized I could make one post that could get thousands of views, I could send out one email to hundreds of people at one time. I could go out and speak in front of a room of 100 people, my own prospects. If I could have webinars where dozens of people show up and I have a podcast that gets hundreds of downloads, that's a lot more fun than making 180 phone calls. And it worked. What happened was, all of a sudden we had people coming to us. All of a sudden we had people actually say, I don't know what you do, I just want to find a way to work with you. That's where this stuff gets really good, is when you build name recognition, brand recognition, and you actually have people coming to you, you are literally guilting them into doing business with you because you're bringing them so much value. That's when everything changes. Because when it comes to where are you putting this message, it comes down to this right here. I used the word consistency at the beginning. Consistent content creates consistent connections. Consistent connections create consistent clients. It's that simple. And the piece that most businesses are missing right now is that consistency. They do it for a month, and then they're gone. They get hot for even a quarter, and then they're gone. The people that are going to last, the people who are going to win, you guys the speakers earlier talked about the new wave of content coming, guys. The people who are going to be most consistent with this, do this the best. When I told you my uniqueness back when I was an advisor was self-funding, today if I said, what do we do better than anybody else in our market? Consistency right there. Showing up every day, putting the content out, bringing in the inbound leads because we do it every single day. That is the name of the game. There is no other magic sauce. Consistency is the key. And the confidence to go, you know what? We're damn good at what we do. I'm going to share my message with you. I have something to say. So as we wrap up, you might be sitting there right now saying, okay, cool. I learned a lot from you, Andy. I know who I should be talking to. I know what I should be saying to him, and I know where I should be saying it. I know the way we prospect has changed. The name of the game has changed. It's about attention. But you still might have questions when you leave from here. I'm going to throw this out there. If you want to connect with me, shoot me an email, hit me on LinkedIn if you want. I'm happy to help. It's okay I say this, Samson. But if you guys want to reach out with questions, I don't know why that last one didn't show, but feel free to reach out, guys, if you have more questions. I'm telling you, I am not a marketing guru by any means, but when I started leveraging the practical concepts of who am I talking to, what am I saying, where am I saying it, and I leaned into storytelling, everything changed. And that's the one thing I do want to say to you guys today. It is no longer about selling products, sell stories. If you sell stories, the products will sell themselves. So, let me wrap up by sharing 2 more stories and then we'll be done. At the beginning, I shared with you guys that my dream as a kid was to play professional baseball for my hometown team, right? What I didn't tell you is how close I got. So, though attention was my kryptonite as a chunky kid, there was one place I was okay, very okay receiving it, and that was on the baseball field, on the pitcher's mound. Eventually, I grew out of my childhood chubbiness, and I went on to have a very successful high school career playing for my dad. And for whatever reason, the pitcher's mound, that 18-foot diameter circle, 60 feet, 6 inches from home plate, was my safe haven. It's actually where attention found me. So because I had a successful high school career, I had the opportunity to go pitch at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Now, my 4-year career at UWM was kind of a roller coaster between wanting to fit in and doing everything I had to do to stand out. My freshman, sophomore years, I just wanted to fit in. I was hanging around the wrong people, and my statistics reflected it. My junior, senior year, I did everything I had to do. I worked my tail off to stand out. And when my senior season ended, I had an opportunity to sign a free agent contract with the Milwaukee Brewers. On a Monday, I was doing data entry at a financial institution in downtown Milwaukee. That was my internship. By Friday, I was sitting in the bullpen for the Helena Brewers. One of the best calls I ever got to make was to call this financial company back and say, yeah, I can't do my internship this year. So here we are. I'm in Helena, Montana. Fast forward later that month, late June. We are in a 3-game series with the Missoula Osprey, affiliate of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I can remember the bus ride from Helena over to Missoula. Our coaching staff had warned us that the crowd in Missoula gets pretty rowdy. It's where the University of Montana is. It's a college town. Summer, kids are out. They're drinking. They love to cover every game. They come to every game, and they make the opposing team feel it. So here we are, game 1 of a 3-game series. It's a Friday night, warm night in Missoula. The sun is setting, and it's like a bright red because there are wildfires burning around Missoula. And there's about 5,000 people in the stands, including my parents, who are watching their son play pro baseball for the first time. And that night, our staff ace, Ben Wallace, has a really rough outing. So the 3rd inning, call comes down to the bullpen. Get Neary up, get him loose. So I jump up, grab my gloves, stretch out my arm and my legs, and I start warming up. 3 minutes later, I'm running into the mound into this loud, obnoxious crowd. So I get to the mound, grab the ball from Dan Norman, our manager, and I look to the on-deck circle to see who I'll be facing. And it's Andres Torres, one of the top prospects in the Diamondbacks organization. So, here's my chance to stand out, right? Here's my chance to prove I belong. Get attention. I start warming up. And as I start warming up, the crowd starts chanting. And little by little, the chanting gets louder, and after my 4th warm-up pitch, I can hear what they're chanting. How can you pitch when you're 5'6"? How can you pitch when you're 5'6"? Now, you guys are laughing. In that moment, something happened. In that moment, I became that fat kid again, who didn't feel like he fit in. Instead of getting ready to face Andres Torres, I was gripped with fear. My mind wasn't locked in on him. My mind was saying, yeah, who am I? I'm not the prototypical size for a pitcher. I don't throw 95 miles an hour. I wasn't a high draft pick. What right do I have to be here to face him? All the fears came back. Fear of judgment, fear of comparison, fear of failure. And instead of being ready to take on and getting the attention I needed, I was gripped with anxiety. Now, I did get him out. Ground ball to shortstop. But I only won the battle. The war was lost. Less than 2 years later, I was cut. Childhood dream over. And when I look back at my baseball career, what I realized, especially standing on that mound that Friday night in Missoula, is I learned a very important lesson. When you're afraid to get attention because all you want to do is fit in, you will always be full of potential, but nowhere close to reaching it. And that's true for my baseball career. That's true for your business. You need to grab attention. The more attention you grab, the closer you will get to having your business reach its full potential. Now, let me share one more story to prove to you why attention matters. When I built my business my brand in 2014, guys, I was nervous. I had a lot of fear. But I knew I had to do it to grow my business, especially in a market nobody knew who I was. But I had all the fears come back up, the judgment, the comparison, the failure. I was afraid of what my peers were going to say. I was afraid of what they would do. I was afraid I'd fall flat on my face. I had peers say, dude, we don't do this in the insurance industry. But I had to try it because I had to do something to grow my business. I had those moments. I had no idea if anyone was watching. I had no idea if anybody was listening. I had no idea if anybody cared. I had those moments where I was like, why the hell am I doing this? Then, in 2021, I learned why it matters. I get a text message from a peer who I hadn't talked to in a couple years. He wanted to connect. So a couple days later, shoot him a Zoom link, and we jumped on a call. Now, I thought we were connecting. I would soon learn this was a very different call. So we jump on Zoom, and as you guys remember, 2020 definitely changed the way we do business, right? It changed the way we operate as a society. And I think the last 3 years have been as much a mental pandemic as they've been a viral pandemic. And my industry was no different. So here I am on Zoom with this peer, and he looks at me and says, hey, man, I just wanted to connect with you and to thank you. And I'm sitting on the other end of the screen going like, thank me, what have I done? I haven't seen you in a couple of years, man. And he said, I've had a pretty rough 24 months. Right before the pandemic, I got divorced. He said, during the pandemic, I actually got COVID. Now, he's pretty overweight, so he had a bad battle of COVID. He was hospitalized. It was touch and go for a while. He said, I had COVID. He said, man, I was at the end of my rope. I was hopeless. I actually thought about ending it all. But I got to tell you, man, your content kept me going. Gave me hope. And I just wanted to reach out and talk to you because I wanted to thank you for keeping me here. And it hit me. This whole attention thing ain't about you. Up until that time, all those fears, comparison, judgment, failure, I had made it about me, my ego. Creating content, building a business, grabbing attention has nothing to do with you. It's about the impact you're having on others. Yes, the more impact you create, the more your income will go up. But you got to set your ego aside and realize creating the content, building my business, getting the attention, it's about impacting others' lives. You don't just sell a product. You don't just sell a service. You're impacting lives. You're changing lives. Now, you're going to have fears. You're going to fear comparison. You're going to have the judgment. You're going to be afraid to fail. You're going to make it all about you. But remember, this game is not about you. Attention is about impacting others. Take it from the fat kid who hated it. Guys, as your impact grows, so will your business. It's that simple. And the bridge between where you are right now and where you want to be is attention. Your ability to do it consistently and your ability to do it confidently is the difference between your business feeling like an unknown and becoming unstoppable. And at the end of the day, attention is what is going to help your business reach its full potential. Thank you.